Hey everybody, it's GombletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'll be playing another premiere draft of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, one of the best sets on Arena. This is going to be a flashback draft. These are not the newest set on Arena, but it's a very cool format and it's going to be back for premiere drafts throughout the week, so I'm excited to hop back into it. Without further ado, let's get into our Pack 1 Pick 1, which is an incredible rare. Inventive Iteration, and this shows off one of the most powerful mechanics in the format. In this set, we have sagas that flip into creatures. So the turn you play them, you get the first ability, bounce a creature or planeswalker. Next turn, you get the next ability, return an artifact from your grave to hand or draw a card. And on turn 3, you flip your saga into a solid creature, this one being the Living Breakthrough, a 3/3 flyer. So great 3-for-1 value here. It's a bounce spell, it's a piece of card draw, and it's a great flyer all off one card. Great card. Second best card in the pack is probably the uncommon saga Boseija Reaches Skyward there. Really just showing off how powerful the sagas are in the format. We also had some great multicolored cards there too. But pick 2 is going to be really easy to follow up our Inventive Iteration. We've got a Behold the Unspeakable, which is another incredible saga. 5 mana. Make all of your creatures that your opponent controls get -2/-0 until end of turn. And then, until the end of your opponent's turn. And then you get to scry 2 and draw 2, or if you only have one card in hand, which means you have to empty your hand because the saga triggers after your draw step, you get to draw 4, and then you get a creature with power toughness equal to the number of cards in your hand. So the creature usually doesn't end up being that big, but what is awesome about this card is it's a ton of card draw and a creature all off one card. And it works really well with another mechanic in the format, which is ninjutsu. That's a mechanic that allows you to return an unblocked attacking creature to your hand to spit out your ninjutsu creature tapped and attacking instead. So if you attack with this vision as a 1/1 or 2/2 flying trample, then you ninjutsu it back to your hand, you get to recast the front half, recast the saga, and get a ton of card draw again. So excellent start here with 2 fantastic sagas in blue. See where we get to go from there. For pick 3 now, this pack is a lot weaker than the other packs. There's nothing premium here, nothing I'd love to take pick 3. We could take Tamiyo's Completion just to stick to blue. It's a fine instant speed blue removal spell, but it is enchantment based. So if they can bounce their creature back to their hand or blow up an enchantment, they can save it from this. There's Kami of Terrible Secrets, which is a really good value play if you have artifacts and enchantments in your deck. There are tons in the format, and it's not too hard to have both artifacts and enchantments in deck, so this could work well in blue-black because we'll have a lot of ninjutsu cards as well, so we can return it to hand and recast it, get some good enter the battlefield value going again. So I'll take Kami here. Maybe I'm overvaluing that. It's also Clawing Torment out of black, I think, is one of the best cards in that pack, which is pretty good for aggressive decks, shutting off a blocker and making it deal a damage to its controller every turn. Pick 4 now. Again, nothing super exciting. I think the best card is probably the Saga again, as Zeus's Many Journeys. For only 2 mana, you get to gain 3 life, play an additional land, and get a 3/3. It does take time to do that, it takes multiple turns, but that is a lot of stats for only 2 mana, so Zeus's Many Journeys seems pretty great here. We could also just go for the Dokuchi Shadow Walker to get some ninjutsu into the deck. If we want to just immediately dive headfirst into blue-black ninjas, I think that'd be reasonable, because all 3 of the cards we've drafted so far are just really good value if we ninjutsu them back to our hand and recast them later. So I think Shadow Walker would be a decent choice, or it'd be decent to try to just get into blue-black ninjas. But I really prefer the really cheap ninjutsu cards than like the 4 mana ninjutsu abilities. So if that were one of the 1 to 3 mana ninjutsu cards, I probably would have taken it, like Moonsnare Specialist, or it's been a while since I've drafted Kamigawa, so I don't remember the names of all of them, but like there's a 2 mana 2/1 that ninjutsus for a single blue. Maybe would have taken that. But it looks like green-blue is a decent place to be. Green-blue mainly overlap in that they both have a lot of powerful sagas. So they've got a lot of good enchantments, and that means that cards like Generous Visitor will get a lot of value, get a lot of +1/+1 counters going around. Cards like Geothermal Kami are also great in this archetype because you can pick up your saga and start it all over again at Chapter 1. So maybe Kami's even better than Visitor in this archetype. Visitor's better the more aggressive you are, and we might be like grinding out for late game value instead. I don't know. I'm going to take the Visitor anyway. It is the higher rarity card. The card will have less opportunities to see, but I'm actually not certain if that's better than Geothermal Kami there. But those are certainly the best two picks for us. Pick 6, nothing great out of green or blue. Fang of Shigeki would be perfectly fine. It'll help us cut green out of the pack. Sky Swimmer Koi is not going to be very good, though, if we go blue-green, because we're going to care about enchantments. We're not really going to care about artifacts. Could push towards white, because I think that Era of Enlightenment is one of the strongest cards in the pack, but it is off-color. Scry 2, gain 2, get a 2/2 first strike. Again, a lot of stats for only 2 mana, like most of the sagas are. I think I'm going to go for cutting green and take Fang of Shigeki. It's going to be very, very, very difficult to convince us to cut blue when we have Inventive Iteration and Behold the Unspeakable. And we have Generous Visitor and Azusa's Many Journeys in green, so 2 premium uncommons in green. So we're kind of pretty locked towards green-blue here, so trying to get people out of the archetype might be good. None of these cards are cards I would consider particularly powerful in any deck in the format. The best one being the Shrine Steward if you have good auras or shrines in your deck. So we'll just take that, but we're probably not going to play it. Bamboo Grove Archer is a very reasonable card. There are a lot of aggressive strategies in the format, and having a 2-mana 3/3 to block against them is pretty great, especially if they're trying to do ninjutsu shenanigans with their cheap flyers. Having the cheap reach creature is great, so like Bamboo Grove Archer, a good amount here. Kami of Terrible Secrets, pretty equally powerful. These two are the best cards in the pack, but we'll go for the Archer as we are much heavier into green. Now we have Tamio's Safekeeping, which is really, really good. There are plenty of decent removal spells in the format that this can counter, as well as being able to use it as a combat trick to save your card, which is great for only 1 mana. That's just awesome. But Fade into Antiquity actually has tons of targets in the format. Again, this set is loaded with artifacts and enchantments, so Fade into Antiquity is incredibly main deckable. I think I will go Fade over Safekeeping here, but it is quite close. Now we'll take an Armguard Familiar that we're very unlikely to play, but everything else in that pack's like a 0% chance. Now we'll take a Puzzle Maker. We're very unlikely to play. Season of Renewal I will happily run. This is a very good late game graveyard recursion spell for any green deck in the format, because green is one of, if not the most enchantment heavy color. So this can always just pick up a creature and an enchantment. It's basically always going to have 2 targets late game. Take some more filler. That is not going to end up in the deck right now. And we're mainly just green. We just opened up 2 incredibly powerful blue cards from the start. We're definitely in green. Green is more than open enough that we're sticking to that. It is possible to get pushed off of blue here if I open up an incredibly powerful card in a different color, simply because blue didn't actually seem that open, so I think it would be worth swapping for equally powerful non-blue cards. But if we just open up another decent blue card, I'm going to stick to blue even if I'm not going to get a bunch of filler commons. We can run a deck that's like 18 green cards and 5 or 6 blue cards. That would be fine. All right, pack 2, pick 1. We do get a blue rare. I actually don't think it's a great one, though. If you're really aggressive, it can pan out well for you. But it's in a very specific scenario, so you have to be attacking with a bunch of creatures so you can ninjutsu one back and have this become a copy of another attacking creature. I guess this doesn't become a copy, you just get a copy of an attacking creature that you got after your opponent declared blocks, so it just straight up damages them. Like, yeah, really great on the aggressive, but not super good on the defensive. I think I'm just going to stick to heavy on green here and take Azusa's Many Journeys and be open to a different secondary color. Could take Moonsnare Specialist. I think Specialist looks a little better for this deck than Thousand Face Shadow, just because I don't know how aggressive our blue cards are in general. Boseiju Reaches Skyward. That's a fantastic saga. Sticks to our main color that we're very heavy on, and we can grab that right up real quickly there. Pack 2, pick 3. We do have 1 Kami of Terrible Secrets in black already, which is a solid black card. We see no green or blue. I guess there's a Fade in green. That'd be the safest pick. We can definitely play it. But this might be a pack we want to take Twisted Embrace, pushing back to black with our Kami of Terrible Secrets, or potentially move into a color that we don't have any cards for yet, like moving into white for an Imperial Oath just because of how powerful that card is. It's just a ton of creatures on turn 6, and scrying 3 once you have 6 mana is huge, because any lands you're scrying out of the way is like fully drawing a card, getting out of any mana flood. So Fade, Imperial Oath, and Twisted Embrace are the best 3 picks here. I'm actually going to play it safe here and take the Fade so we still have that potential, just powerful blue deck. Mainly just green, kind of splashing blue. Okay, maybe we are pushing towards white. There's a Spirited Companion here, pick 4. Nothing that I'm going to play out of green. Nothing exciting out of blue or black either. Clawing Torment, good for aggro, but we're not super aggressive in green, more mid-rangey generally. Take the Spirited Companion just because it's the best card, but it's okay if that doesn't end up making the cut, because there was nothing green that would make the cut anyway. Now a Tales of Master Sashiro or a Master's Rebuke. I've got double Fade already. Don't think I need to take Rebuke super highly. I think I can go for Tales of Master Sashiro. I don't think there's anything off-color super worth taking, because we don't have many artifacts for the Kami of Terrible Secrets anyway, even if I do end up green-black. I don't think it's a super high pick, but it would make the cut. Alright, the blue cards here are the best by a lot. Suit Up is great in decks that are trying to ninjutsu often, which I don't think is this deck just because we have 0 ninjutsu cards right now. I'd rather take the first ninjutsu card than the Suit Up. So Suit Up is good in blue-black in particular because you get to make these attacks where your opponent always wants to block because they know you have access to powerful ninjutsu spells. So they're gonna like block almost every time, and then you can just Suit Up, kill their blocker, and draw a card, which is great. But I think I'd rather have Moon Circuit Hacker because I do not have a lot of ninjutsu right now to push in those nice cheap attacks, and getting the ninjutsu makes all of our sagas a little bit better, because if we want to replay their early effects, we can ninjutsu them back to hand, draw a card off Moon Circuit Hacker, and then replay the saga after, which could be great. Careful Cultivation's fine mana ramp, but it's not super exciting. I think I'd rather take a Blossoming Sands, so that if we get some late Imperial Oaths, we could splash them in maybe. Plus, having a green-white duel means that it could help our mana base even towards splashing in blue if we become green-white splash blue. Then having a source that's both green and white means that we don't need to play as many green and white lands, because it counts as one of each. So that gives us more room to cut a green or white source for a blue source. So it even helps splash the other way around if we need to. And that might be the direction we're heading. I already have 1 Season of Renewal. The first one's incredible. The second one is solid. The third is where it starts getting really redundant. Could still take another Season of Renewal. Could also take a Safekeeping. These are cards that would definitely make the cut, but also could go for Fall of Lord Konda, going for green-white splash in the blue. This is a little narrow. It only exiles big cards. Not super pumped. I'll go for the Safekeeping here, actually. Get our first copy of that, again, since it definitely makes the cut, with green being our most represented color. Okay, this is all some poop that we won't be playing. I'll just rare draft in uncommon. Bearer of Memory is perfectly serviceable filler. I could also take Sunblade Samurai to help splash in some white with that plane cycling that it has. I think I'd rather just take the Bearer, because we don't even know if we're splashing white. Our only white card is Spirited Companion, which isn't super splashable. It's a very good card, but it's a very good card when you play it on turn 2, and if you're splashing it in, you're not going to be playing it on turn 2 very frequently. Alright, I guess we don't really have anything to pick up with Shrine Steward, so I'd rather take Rugged Highlands just in case some weird thing happens and there's a good red card. Red is a pretty narrow color in this format, though, where it only really plays well aggressively, and it only really plays well with artifacts, so it's not something I like to pair with green very often at all, so it feels unlikely. Grab a Boon of Boseiju. Thornwood Falls is an excellent pickup. That is definitely going to help us, because we don't want to run too many blue sources at this rate, so having a source that's green and blue is spectacular. Really helps get to the double blue for Behold the Unspeakable. I think that's the only thing that'll be difficult about basically just splashing blue in this deck. Alright, pack 3, pick 1. Go ahead and take a Geothermal Kami here. Again, very good with good enchantments that have solid enter the battlefield effects, such as Sagas. So I think Kami looks great for this deck. Another very solid black removal spell there, but I think it's more that we've been opening some very good black cards than that we're getting past a ton of great black cards. We are getting past good black cards, but it's always been early in the draft, so I don't think it's like we 100% should have been green-black, but that did feel probably the most open, maybe green-white. But I'm not unhappy about where we are, because we're definitely supposed to be in green, and we're in green. So there is that. We'll take another Generous Visitor now, again sticking to taking our main color cards. Highly. And we're at 23 cards right now, but that is 3 cards we want to cut and 2 lands in there as well. So we need to find 5 more playables to make it to 23 non-land cards and 17 lands, which is where you want to be on average. Gotta say, I do like the look of this deck a lot though, so not unhappy with how this draft is going. Take a Jukai Preserver now. Starting to get a little high on 4 and 5 drops, but I think looks pretty good. The only thing wrong with our curve is that we don't have anything at 3 mana, but we just don't open any good 3 mana cards. We don't open any good 3 mana cards. It is what it is. We can just skip 3 mana. We'll just jump right over that. Greater Tanuki could be pretty reasonable here. It kind of slots in at 3 mana to mana fix us if we end up again splashing anything. But even if we're just green-blue, we're kind of just splashing blue because of our low quantity of blue cards. Yeah, pretty weak pack overall. It doesn't feel like I'm really missing out on anything incredible by taking Tanuki. And that's kind of how things have felt generally. Alright, well there's some good white cards. Intercessor's Rest and Michiko's Reign of Truth, but good green cards too. A 3rd Generous Visitor, and we're going to be getting that thing out consistently. Cards should be pretty busted for us. We have 12 enchantments and 3 Generous Visitors. That is pretty wild. I already have 1 Bunabo Seiju, and I don't even like the first copy very much. Maybe I want the self-splashing Sunblade Samurai. Mnemonic Sphere doesn't really do anything. Guardians of Aboro doesn't really do anything. Mobilizer Mech doesn't really do anything. None of these blue cards work in our deck. I'll just take the Samurai, but it feels unlikely that that's going to be a thing. Maybe Era of Enlightenment, Spirited Companion, Samurai. Do I do that over another Safekeeping? Maybe that's going to be a thing that we're doing. Okay, well now it's just a bunch of incredible green cards again. Harmonious Emergence for the 5-drop over another Preserver. I've got 4 4-drops, just 2 5s. I really like Emergence on 5 mana. Probably 2 into this card. But 5 mana, 4/5 Vigilance Haste. Just a beat stick. Alright, I've got 3 5-drops now. I don't think I need another Tales of Master Sashiro. Would be big and strong, and Jukai Trainee doesn't really synergize at all. It's just another 2-drop for us, which is solid. I guess I will take another Tails. There's another 2-drop with Coiling Stalker, which generally I don't like very much because the 1 toughness is pretty bad. But we've got a lot of good ways to use the ninjutsu ability, and not a lot of ninjutsu cards. I suppose I could take Terrarium to get another blue source. That'd be reasonable too, but I'll go for the Coiling Stalker. Alright, I should have just taken Safekeeping because I don't think we're doing the white splash anymore, probably. I was already pretty unlikely to do it. I only need to cut like 1 more card, and I could just cut the Bunabo Seiju. I don't love that combat trick. We've got a lot of sagas that work sort of like non-creature spells. Where this is a bounce spell. This is a card draw spell. So it's like these kind of count for non-creatures too, even though they're both non-creatures and creatures. They're nice and flexible like that. I could also just play 16 lands. We've got 1 land cycler. with Greater Tanuki. I don't think I want to do that, though. Because we got some beef. We've got 4 drops and 5 drops we want to cast. And if I don't channel the Tanuki, then I do want to play it as a 6/5 trample in the end game. I'm still not that into Coiling Stalker, even though I have some sagas I could bounce with it theoretically. I'm actually just going to get rid of Coiling Stalker. I really dislike 1 toughness, 2 drops, and 3 drops and stuff. Yeah, I'm going to just drop the Coiling Stalker here. There are cards like Spirited Companion and Virus Beetle that are staple commons that are incredible against any 1 toughness creatures that you play. Because Spirited Companion is a 2-mana 1/1 that draws a card when it hits the board. So if you play that and trade it into your opponent's 2-mana 2/1 that didn't do anything, except trade into your Spirited Companion, you're just straight up a card. And Virus Beetle is the black version. It's an artifact creature, 1 and a black, 1/1. Your opponent discards a card when you play it. So if you end up trading your 2-mana 2/1 into a Virus Beetle, that's also horrible. There's also cards like Life of Toshiro Umezawa that really punish 1 toughness creatures that can kill 2 1 toughness creatures, and then it's also a saga, so it flips into a 2/3. So there's a lot of things that just make 2-mana 1 toughness creatures pretty bad. You gotta have some real good abilities to be a good 1 toughness creature in the format. And I think the triple Generous Visitor are worth it, but not the 2-mana 2/1. So I think we will call it a deck there. Thanks to Thornwood Falls, this is like 11 green sources and 7 blue, which feels like where we want it to be. We've got a double blue card in here that's quite powerful. I don't really want to dip below 7 blue sources, but I also want to keep green super high, because that's the main color that matters. So 11-7 sounds good to me. We'll call it a deck there. All right, here's a look at our final deck list for today. It's going to be a green-blue enchantments deck, mainly just green. Green was wide open. Blue, not so much, but we got some really powerful blue cards early and just kind of held on to them because green was so open that we could just play a million green cards and just mainly just like splash in our best blue. So the really powerful blue cards we have are a couple great sagas, Inventive Iteration and Behold the Unspeakable. Both of these doing a tremendous amount of stuff off of the first half and the back half of the sagas. So incredible cards there. And then just all the good green enchantment-based stuff to glue the deck together. 3 Generous Visitors here. So every time we're casting enchantments, we're putting a +1/+1 counter on a creature. Maybe sometimes we're even putting 2 counters on a creature because we have double Visitor down, so that could be pretty nasty. With a really high enchantment count like we have Azuz's Many Journeys to ramp up real quick if we have extra lands in hand. Bearer of Memory can put counters on enchantment creatures. Then the 4s and 5s are where things get real good. We have Geothermal Kami to recast some sagas or other enchantment creatures for value. Jukai Preserver to get a counter on the board, keep attacking aggressively. Harmonious Emergence for a big Vigilance Haste threat. Tales of Master Seshiro to get extra damage in and then also become a giant Vigilance Haste threat. Lots of nice beef at the top end of the curve. Some nice ramp early as well as just +1/+1 counters everywhere. Looks like a pretty solid, pretty consistent green-blue enchantments deck. And I'm excited to see how it does as we head into the gameplay. Here we are on the play for game 1. Awkward curve here. We're not going to be doing anything until turn 4 at this rate, but when it's got both of our colors and one of our strongest cards in the whole deck, the Inventive Iteration, I am going to keep it. And we just hope we're not against like a super aggressive red deck that's going to turn 1 Kumano Faces Kakazan or anything like that. And they do not have a 1-mana creature, so that's a good start for us. We are on the play, which also helps with keeping a slower hand. They do have a turn 2 Roaring Earth, so every creature they play can sit there getting bigger and bigger, because every time they play a land, they put a +1/+1 counter on one of their creatures or vehicles. So there's a Jukai Trainee. Actually did that in the wrong order there. If they played Trainee, then their land, that would have been a 3/3, so I think we're pretty happy with that. But I guess in the end, it doesn't really matter because we were going to bounce it either way, which would have gotten rid of its +1/+1 counter if they had sequenced correctly. Oh, We're giving them another chance. All right, they did it right this time. They played the trainee, then got the +1/+1 counter on it. No 5th land is definitely a bummer, because these tails would be pretty spicy. I guess I have no creatures to put the +1/+1 counter on yet, so it's not that big of a bummer. So Generous Visitor, Bearer of Memory, pretty good draws so that we have something to spend all 4 of our mana on this turn. We can't make it to our 5 drops, at least having stuff to do is definitely good. That Jukai Trainee is just straight up a 4/4, and a Boseiju reaches skyward. That is going to be a massive creature, so it grabs 2 forests for them. So that's 7 lands total by the time it flips, so this will be a 7/7 reach. That's going to be a big deal. We do have 2 Fade into Antiquity in this deck that we can use to exile that later, and we've got some time to draw into them because it's not going to be the creature until 2 turns from now. So, if I cast a Tales of Master Sashiro, they can't play 5 drops next turn, which is cute. I think it's just the strongest card to play. It's going to get us closer to getting that 5/5 Vigilance Haste on the board, plus we get to attack with a 5/4 Bearer of Memory, which trades into the Jukai Trainee if they block, and if they don't, hits them for 5. Generous Visitor plus Tales of Master Sashiro is actually real nasty, because the turn we play it, something gets 2 +1/+1 counters in Vigilance. That can really, really give us attacks where we wouldn't have had them otherwise. There's Historian's Wisdom on the Jukai Trainee, and they draw a card, really just beefing this thing up. There's a Gloom Shrieker with no permanence in the graveyard, so no extra value for them there. I think I just take 7. They're at 15 here. We can race this with another copy of Tales of Master Sashiro. They have a 2/1 blocker, so let's have Generous Visitor put a counter on Living Breakthrough, and let's have Tails give the Visitor Vigilance, I think. And then attack with everybody holding up Tamio's Safekeeping. We put them to 2 life if they don't chump block here. And they don't chump block here, so they go down to 2, and we can block and cast Safekeeping. So we can gain some life on our block. We can make sure that it's not a chump block. We get to keep whatever we're blocking with. I think we definitely can win the race here. Ideally, I want to block in a way where I don't have to cast Safekeeping so that I have this up against any removal spell they might use on one of our attackers. Okay, well, I can't stop that. We have to exile one of our creatures, which I guess at this point is Generous Visitor. And the branch does have reach, so Living Breakthrough can't break through. Pun partially intended, I guess. So we're going to have 3 creatures total, thanks to the Vigilance Haste from Tails. So we just hope they attack with anything here. If they attack us with somebody, they're dead. Okay, cool. They attack with Gloom Shrieker. We have to take the damage. But then I get a Vigilance Haste, Tales of Master Sashiro. And we kill them by attacking with 3 creatures. That is the plan. They could have something for 1 black mana. I don't remember the format incredibly well, but I don't believe there's any 1 black mana interaction that saves them from this. If there is, hopefully we can counter it with Safekeeping. Alright, that is going to find us the kill there, and we're going to start this draft off 1-0. Here we are on the play for game number 2. I don't like this hand a lot, but I don't believe that it's worth a mulligan. We have both of our colors. We've got a 1-drop and a 4-drop. We've got a removal spell. These cards just don't synergize particularly well because there's nothing to bounce for the Kami. And there's a pretty big gap between the Fang of Shigeki and the Geothermal Kami. So we're definitely looking to draw into some reasonable plays throughout this game to get things rolling. Bunabo Seiju is the draw. Probably going to be the same as last game where it's just not even going to end up being cast. Gets an ace. Inventive Iteration. Well, there's a great draw. Okay. Suppose I could trade my 1/1 Death Touch into this thing. Don't really want to, though. So I can end up playing stuff that's much better than a 2/2. Satsuki the Living Lore, so that makes all their sagas better. They can dump extra counters onto the sagas by tapping her, and when she dies, they can return a saga or enchantment creature back to their hand to replay it, or return a saga from their graveyard to their hand. Okay. Alright, no attacks. They also don't want to trade the ace and the Shigeki, which is fine with me because I didn't want to do it either. Alright, now we get to cast our Inventive Iteration turn 4, and that should be a great way to get this game rolling. We'll just bounce the Satsuki, make them recast her. That way they have to spend one of each color. Should choke up their mana a little bit from casting other spells. At least a little bit more than the ace, where they get to kind of choose where they need to spend it. Befriending the Moths instead. So that's going to be pretty solid here. They're going to hit us for 6 with the ace, and then they're going to get a 2/4 flyer. Super solid card. I could just fade it away. So the way that Living Breakthrough works, if I get to that, is that I have to cast the spell before they attempt to cast theirs. So if they play Satsuki, I can't like respond by instant speed booning to stop them from casting her. I think. So I just wanted to think there, since I have a 2-drop in hand, if I should be trying to play it when this flips. I don't think so. Okay, so we can fade Befriending or just play Boseiju. I think I should just play Boseiju and get this closer to flipping as quickly as possible. And they've got no other creatures to give the flying to, so I might as well hit with the Fang, because it's not going to be blocking anything unless they play a red source and a haste creature. I guess if they have Harmonious Emergence, the Fang could block that. That is the 4-mana aura that they can attach to a land to make it a 4/5 Vigilance Haste. It's basically a 5-mana 4/5 Vigilance Haste. So I could have played around that. That would have been reasonable. I think it would have been fine to not attack, since they could have that card. Favor of Jukai, just slam in here, put us down to 11. That is going to be painful. Then untap the ace as a blocker. Okay. Could have done that during combat for an extra damage, but they're probably just a little unfamiliar with arena stuff. They probably... I don't think they'd have to full control mode to do that. Maybe it is a thing you have to full control mode for, though. Okay, so next turn that's going to flip. That's going to be a big deal. I don't really want to Geothermal Kami anything back. Just play a Generous Visitor, hold up a Bunabo Seiju. I could fade and still hold up the boon. I mean, fade actually does seem pretty decent here, because otherwise a 2/4 can block the 3/3 flyer over and over again unless I boon it away. And if I boon it away, then they have a saga in their graveyard for Satsuki to pick up. So exiling does feel particularly solid against the saga. Born to Drive, that's going to give them a couple 1/1s. That are very good at crewing vehicles, if they have any vehicles. Okay. Bamboo Grove Archer is the draw. We now have a massive branch of Boseiju. We get to attack in the sky unhindered. Totally forgot that I have a generous visitor on board, and I could have hit for 1 extra point of damage, and I should have hit for 1 extra point of damage. My bad there. Pass from there. Keep the Kami in case I need to re-up a Bamboo Grove Archer, if I need to pick it up to channel it to destroy a flyer or something. This way I've got Bunabo Seiju up if something crazy happens. We've got 4 mana value as our biggest, so this is +4/+4 right now. It's actually kind of cool. Kind of cool for sure. Ooh, now if I Geothermal Kami something back and recast it, I get 2 +1/+1 counters? Don't have the mana to do that and hold up Boon. Could be cool though. Could be an option. Alright, chump block for the branch, and take 4 damage from the living breakthrough. Now I'm just going to pass from there again. Play it nice and safe. We're in a pretty commanding lead. I don't think I need to overextend in case they have one of the board wipes in the format. The main one being Farewell, that can exile all creatures, enchantments, artifacts, all that kind of stuff. So we'll just have a backup 4/3. And a backup pickup of the Bamboo Grove Archer if they play a really big flyer or something. So pans out well for us. Our opponent just kind of floods out there, doesn't find much of anything. So we are going to be 2-0 now as we head into game number 3. Here we are for game 3. Reasonable hand here. We're going to have to just run out a Moon Circuit Hacker, which always feels sad. Because you'd always rather ninjutsu it, but when you've got it in the opener, just get that thing down. Especially when we have Geothermal Kami to bring it back to our hand later and try to ninjutsu it at that time. So jam out a Moon Circuit Hacker. They don't have a blocker for it, so we will be able to draw cards and discard cards off of it. So we'll do that before I do anything else. Draw a card, discard a card. Find a Fade into Antiquity we could use on the Modern Age. Do we want to just play that next turn instead of, or this turn instead of Thornwood Falls? I think that is actually solid here. Stop them from drawing and discarding again because they're blue-black and they don't have a black source yet, maybe? At least they didn't until they cast Modern Age, potentially. They could have also just played double blue and still have Swamp already, but draw a card, discard a card is value, and a 2/3 flyer is good. We've got the Archer to block the flyer, but we get to kill the flyer and stop a loot, so I'm going to do that. Okay, Zeus's Many Journeys is the draw. I don't have another land to play alongside it, but don't really want to Geothermal Kami that badly anyway, so let's just get the Archer to block Companion to stop them from ninjutsuing, and drop the Zeus's Many Journeys. Pass turn from here. We need to draw into some stuff, but at least our opponent does too. They need to draw into a black source, we need to draw into some plays, some kind of action. We are already running low. We've kind of just dumped out a bunch of cheap stuff. Moon Snare Specialist to bounce the Bamboo Grove Archer. Force us to replay it next turn. Luckily, that does cost all their mana, so they can't, like, ninjutsu this turn. I guess I could discard it to blow up the Companion, but I'm just going to play it here. Alright, and our discard definitely worked out off of Moon Circuit Hacker. Because, turns out we didn't need the Thornwood Falls to have our double blue anyway. So, I think everything's worked out about as well as it could so far. We just don't really have any action. Network Disruptor can guarantee they get a ninjutsu attack in against the Bamboo Grove Archer. This is kind of weird, but I think it's worth it to stop them in case they have a Moon Circuit Hacker that they're going to try to draw a card off of. Another land is not gonna do much. Guess I'm just playing the Kami for no value. I guess I could just gain life off of it and then replay a hacker. I suppose. Probably where we're at. This game is not going as well as the other games. We've kind of just got the Dirtle Squad in the building. We're trying to find our own powerful sagas like Behold the Unspeakable. That's really what's going to change the course of games like this. And since they hit the Behold the Unspeakable and we did not, they are definitely in the lead now. Behold has found their black source. And it's going to be a pretty big flying trample card because they still have 5 cards left because they got a big draw 2 there. There's a Clawing Torment on the Likeness of the Seeker, so we need to just jam in with that every turn since it can't block anyway. And it's going to keep damaging us every turn. Go for the kill on the Companion. They've got the suit up to win that combat and draw a card. We've got a 7th land. Okay. Guess they can double block trade into Kami. Double block trade into Bearer. I'm not going to send the Bearer in, but I'll send the Kami in. It's never going to get any bigger, never going to get any better, and we are at 25, so... Alright, Likeness of the Seeker can already just, like, freely attack. I guess it's not going to attack well into the vision. But if it dies on an attack, that's fine. There's a Virus Beetle. Goodbye, Forest. Oh no! I think I'm just buffing my Bearer of Memory. Maybe should have been doing Moon Circuit Hacker. There we go. Wow, that's a draw. Oh my god. Empty-handed, draw Behold the Unspeakable. So that's going to draw 4 cards next turn. Alright, we do it. They have 1 total power on their board, so they're not going to kill anything here, and they're not going to hit us very hard, but they can ninjutsu the Vision back. I can't stop them from ninjutsuing Vision of the Unspeakable back, because we have no flying blockers. They got to make some chumps here. They are down to 12. Behold was an incredible draw. Could flip this game right back around. Kind of just in general, again, showing off the power of the big sagas like Behold the Unspeakable, where our opponent cast one, it's like, alright, well now they're very far in the lead, and then we top decked ours, and it's like, well, hold on, wait a second, we'll see. Okay. Alright. Well, I guess our opponent is still very far in the lead. Well, you know, sometimes things just happen. I guess we send in Likeness of the Seeker with the 6 mana to turn it into a 3/3. They don't have the mana to buff the Infiltrator, so that's just a 1/2. So what's their best block for our 4/3? They have to lose 2 creatures to kill it still. I don't think I want to attack with the Bearer of Memory still, but I think it's fine to attack with these two. I could have held the land in hand so that when I do get my Flying Trampler, it's slightly bigger, but I think I would rather play it out so that if I draw like a 2-drop or a 1-drop, I can play that and use Bearer of Memory in the same turn. want to put a counter on the likeness right now or put one on Moon Circuit Hacker or something. This is probably wrong, but I just drew 4 extra cards, so there is an extra bit of value. It's a very small bit of value, but there's an extra bit of value to pretend I have something in my hand rather than just tapping out here. Because if I drew any non-land card, basically any non-land card in the game, it would be better to spend my mana on that instead of tapping out on Bearer during my turn. So this way, at least maybe it looks like I've got a potential combat trick or instant to think about. I don't know. Probably not worth losing it on the 1 point of damage. Oh, yeah, that's very good. So they can kill whatever creature they want now by discarding a creature. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with the way they're playing this game out, because if they didn't put a counter on Vision, if they put a counter on something else and then they just put Vision back in their hand and recast it, I think we'd be even farther behind than if they just keep the Vision and beat us down with it. All right. Just 6 in a row. Let's go. I should go play some craps at the casino or something. We are 6 for 6, baby. They're at 8 life. I can give Bearer of Memory trample and 5 toughness. I'm just going to send in everybody. We're racing. We've got a Vision of the Unspeakable. They only have 2 cards in hand. If they don't have instant speed interaction, this can be a lot of damage here. Double block Bearer of Memory. That's not enough to kill the Bearer of Memory. And I already killed both their creatures. I mean, this is fine on board. I think I like trampling up the Moon Circuit Hacker, because not only do I hit them for a couple damage, I get to draw a card, discard a card. They're taking 2 damage right now. If I give Bearer trample, I hit for 5 total. If I give the counter to the Hacker, I hit for 4. So it's only 1 less point of damage also, so sure. They're down to 4. We'll draw a card, discard a card. Find a Jukai Preserver. We didn't go 7 for 7. That's slightly disappointing. All right, 14 life to 4. Do we still get there? We still get there, barely. All right. I did not expect that at all, but Bearer of Memory being a massive overperformer that game, finding a few extra points of damage, and I guess Clawing Torment from our opponent also being a big overperformer, because they didn't want to trade into our Likeness of the Seeker because they put a Clawing Torment on it, so they wanted to keep making us lose a life. But if they just traded with the Likeness earlier, they would have taken considerably less damage throughout that game to make it less likely we could find those just like 2 attacks in a row for lethal in the end. So that's not what I expected, but I guess they just did not draw a whole lot after their Vision of the Unspeakable flipped, and so it's kind of okay that we didn't draw a whole lot either. So we'll be 3-0, grabbing 1,000 gems in 2 packs as we head into game number 4. Here we are for game 4. We definitely got to draw some lands, but good grief, would this hand be incredibly powerful if we did. If I don't draw lands, I'll still have a 3-3 eventually, and off of 1 land I'll have a piece of removal as well. But the best draws in our deck are just 3 lands in a row. Ooh, now I only really need to draw 1 land, but missing on the first land draw is a bit of a bummer because we don't get to get the additional land off of Zeus's Many Journeys. But now 1 land makes us golden. We just cycle a Greater Tanuki. This is instant speed, so I can do it during their end step. That being said, Fade into Antiquity is a sorcery, so I guess I could just do it sorcery speed anyway. Got nothing to hold up. So let's grab that second blue for Behold the Unspeakable. Top deck a Moon Circuit Hacker. kind of wish I drew a land here because there's no creatures to bounce with Inventive Iteration, which is a bit of a bummer because I think it's still our best play. Just don't return anything. So it's not a maximum value Inventive Iteration, but it's still a powerful card to get down here and get flipping as soon as possible. So opponent plays nothing till turn 4 when they play a 3/4. That does stop my Likeness of the Seeker from getting in, and it's not an artifact or an enchantment, so I can't fade it. Guess I can Tales of Master Sashiro, so I can still get in this turn. Get aggressive here, feels pretty good. The later we play Behold the Unspeakable, the better it is, because the more creatures they'll have on board and the fewer cards we'll have in hand towards potentially drawing a full 4. Let's get another counter on the Likeness and then flip our 3/3 flyer out. 6 mana total. I can fade the Goshintai. Just cast a Bamboo Grove Archer, I guess. Probably fine. I don't really want to Behold right now. I would like to stop the Goshintai from just giving them a million blockers. So we'll do that. They don't have good blocks for Likeness of the Seeker, and I guess they can't play a 3-drop either, which is cool. Now they can't play a 3-mana or 2-mana card next turn. The flavor text on Living Breakthrough probably being somewhat annoying for our opponent. I guess we'll never know. Alright, never mind. The best card in their hand was a 4-mana card, so much for that. I've got 2 5/5 Vigilant creatures attacking in, and if I cast a Behold, they don't have enough power to kill either. So I'll do that. Do have the mana to ninjutsu a Moon Circuit Hacker out, but I'd rather just keep a 5/5 than have to recast it. And have it slowly turn into a creature. Maybe I should have just played Moon Circuit Hacker last turn instead of the Archer, since I'm not really blocking anyway. My thought process was that I think it would be pretty reasonable to return Inventive Iteration to my hand and recast it, but my other creatures definitely don't want to ninjutsu those right now. Panned out just fine. Opponent did not draw anything to deal with our big 5/5, so they are going to scoop them up, and the giant vigilant green dorks find another victory for us as we head into game number 5 now, undefeated so far. Here we are for game 5 with no blue source, but we have our double blue card in hand and a blue card. All I play if I don't draw a blue source is Generous Visitor, but I don't need to draw a blue source till turn 4, and I have 7 in the deck. We gotta draw well here, but any green enchantments are good draws because of Generous Visitor. Any islands are good draws. The only thing that's like a really bad draw here is a blue spell or a forest. And we have like 6 more forests in the deck and 1 more blue spell, so there's 7 bad draws out of 33. I'm going to keep it. I think most of our draws here are pretty good, and if we find an island, we're going to be in a great spot. Okay, Mothrider Patrol into Kitsune Ace. Get things started. Okay, Season of Renewal is probably the only green card I'm actually pretty unhappy to draw, because this doesn't do anything till very late right now. Brute Suit. Alright, they are curving out real aggressively. That's not what we wanted to see. Are they curving out aggressively enough to 2-for myself into killing this Kitsune? I don't think so. I might have to fade the Brute Suit, though. I probably will. Okay, green source is not what we wanted. I'll take another 3 next turn. If I find a blue source next turn, then we are just warm and cozy, and everything is perfect, and we'll be okay. If I don't find a blue source next turn, Or at least just a playable green card. Any 4 mana or less, like green creature, is a fine draw. So, one of those. Blue source or any just 4 mana or less green card. Okay, 4 mana or less green card. I'll do it. Oops. Accidentally minimized arena for a second. Faded to black there, my bad. Okay. I'm getting beat down. But that, if we manage to survive till it flips, is going to be a very big blocker. And now my Boon of Boseiju gives +4/+4, so next turn, even if I don't draw anything, I can block with Generous Visitor as a 6/6 to not lose it and kill something. Modern Age is a great draw for them, or a great play for them. They might have had it in their hand the whole time, because they can discard an enchantment and cast it off of Narika later. Might even just trade my 2/2 into Narika here, because otherwise I'm taking 5, going very low. I've got that Boon if I just have the mana up, I guess. Visitor's my only creature. I gotta try to trade Boon into one of their blockers instead of the Visitor. And it's gonna pan out to be the right play, because we just draw another forest as we pass the turn here. They get a removal spell for Visitor. We're not going to be able to win this game. We're not going to be dead immediately. I'll go to 2, but I've got nothing I can do that's going to survive the turn after that. Network Disruptor is good, but this can untap my Visitor, so this is actually going to be kind of good for me. It's going to be like, oh hey, surprise. They made my Boon of Boseiju even better. So I take 3, go to 5, so blue source does get us there. Not a blue source, but I've got 3 blockers now. Okay. No blockers. Well, I do have 1 blocker in the sky. I've got Branch of Boseiju. But if they hit a land, they can tap the branch and hit me for 1, but only 1. I think I just have to pass here. So we have 25 cards left. 6 of them are islands, 1 is a Thornwood Falls, and 1 is a Greater Tanuki. There's 8 blue sources out of those 25. That would be perfect. Alright, Repel the Vial is probably the nail in the coffin, because there goes our flying blocker, and it's not even in our graveyard, so we can't even get it back. I can get back my ground blocker, but they don't have any ground creatures, so there's no point. Oh my god, alright, we'll just hit Forest 8 before Island 1. Well, that went pretty badly. Our opponent had a solid aggressive curve, mainly with a bunch of flyers being the super big issue to punish us for not finding a blue source. So we kept a hand that had a risk of, if we don't find a blue source, it's not going to be great. Still dug pretty far to try to find the blue source and just really didn't get there. So unfortunate stuff. We are 4-1 heading into game 6. Here we are for game 6. Very reasonable hand mana-wise. Not going to be doing a ton in the early game, but we've got the Fade into Antiquity to slow our opponent down. And then Season of Renewal for big value late. Blue-black, they start with a Papercraft Decoy. I think I have to just fade that. I guess since I drew into Bamboo Grove Archer, I can just play the Archer and block. If I fade it now, that's the only time I know they won't be drawing a card off of it, though. So that would be the argument for doing that, but they can't get through the Archer unless they... Or they can't, like, ninjutsu something and draw a card off Decoy unless they kill the Archer, which is going to cost most of their mana, probably. If they have a Clawing Torment, that'd be really bad for me. Clawing Torment on the Archer would have been disgusting. Okay, Generous Visitor's a fine draw. Now I can just fade. I could still fade either of these. I think they'd both be decent options. If I fade the Decoy, we know they won't draw a card off of it. The Puzzle Maker does get to keep attacking every turn, but I can block it every turn, so they never ninjutsu off of it. They just get to keep scrying. So scry every turn or draw a card one time. Both are pretty good. I guess I'll just get rid of the flyer. That's the more guaranteed way to make sure they're not going to ninjutsu. Even if it means they're almost definitely going to draw a card off decoy at some point. Okay, 1 mana away from hard casting a Tanuki, so we're not going to cycle it. If they play an enchantment, this Blade Blesser is going to have Menace and Death Touch, and that will be a bad time. Speaking of a bad time, a 5/5 Flying Menace is practically impossible to block. It's also not an artifact or enchantment, so I couldn't have even faded it if I held on to that. That is just going to kill me. Unless I draw into a Geothermal Kami where I can pick up my Bamboo Grove Archer. Or unless I can sacrifice Bamboo Grove Archer somehow and then channel it to kill this. That's my only hope. But even if I kill this with something, it makes me discard 2 and lose 2 life, or it reanimates something from grave. Alright, incredibly busted Mythic Rare is quite likely to kill me. Can't really ninjutsu. Maybe they just won't block Fang of Shigeki. They'll probably just trade with Decoy or Blade Blesser. Okay, that's fine. Probably do just hard cast the Moon Circuit Hacker. No reason to buff the Archer. It's not 2 flying blockers, so I can't block a Flying Menace. Okiba Reckoner Raid, we're going to get drained for 2 life, then they're going to get a 2/2 Menace. It's a Gravelighter, each player sacks a creature, they sack Decoy, draw a card, we sack Bamboo Grove Archer, pick it up with Season of Renewal. Gives us a shot now. But now we're going to be taking 2 a turn from Gravelighter because we're not going to have a reach creature anymore since we have to discard ours to kill this Junji. And then they just get to discard the rest of my hand. Or reanimate a 2/1 Papercraft Decoy. They probably make me discard 2. I discard Fang and Island. They could pick up Blade Blesser now that they have an enchantment. It'd be a menace creature. Okay. Make me discard. Let's send in the squad. They are going to trade into Generous Visitor. Let's go. We've got a tiny bit of a shot here. Takanuma, never mind. Welcome back, Junji. Alright. Maybe I'll draw into one of my really powerful flying sagas or something here, and I discard a forest for it. Nope. Okay. So, if our opponent cast 1 Mythic Rare Dragon Spirit, Junji the Midnight Sky, we could have won the game. But they cast 2, so I think we're going to die. Oh, they're just going to kill Tanuki this turn, so we get another draw discard off Hacker, so we can look for Inventive Iteration and stuff to bounce the dragon. Generous Visitor. Oh, they're... Right, it's summoning 6, so we don't get to draw a card, discard a card, because they're not attacking. Okay. Play a Generous Visitor. I still have ways to win this game, but it would involve drawing like perfectly every turn. It would be like Inventive Iteration into Behold the Unspeakable or something like that. Well, There's Inventive Iteration. But our opponent's still drawing creatures to slam down on us, and mana efficiently as well, dumping 8 mana worth of cards on us. So I think it would have had to be, it would have had to have been like the perfect draws of like iteration into Behold, and my opponent would have to draw bad, and they are definitely not drawing poorly right now. They've been dumping out stuff for like all their mana each turn. Not all their mana, but they've been dumping out plenty of stuff. Okay, there's the Midnight Sky. Maybe they drew a land that time. Safekeeping leaves me alive with 1 life. If they don't attack with all their creatures on the ground. If they attack with everybody on the ground, I only have 2 blockers on the ground. So I can't block because they have a menace and a non-menace, so those 2, one of them gets through and I die. But if they only attack me in the sky, then I have 1 more turn to draw into Behold, but Behold wouldn't even save me at that point. Okay, now we gotta hope that they do the math wrong and don't realize that they can just click the all attack button and kill me. They might not see it. They might not see the menace finding lethal. Okay, they see it. Alright, not much you can do there. Midnight Sky is an incredible bomb mythic, and they got to jam it out twice on us. Still played it out, still grinded out much as we could. But not all the way to a victory. We're going to be 4-2 as we head into round 7. Here we are for game 7. Really slow curve, but we have both of our colors at least. If I don't hit lands, I'm not doing anything. And again, it's pretty slow. If I do hit lands every turn, it's going to be strong, and we're on the draw at least. You know what? I'm going to keep it on the draw. Because 1 land makes it pretty reasonable. And we have 3 draw steps to draw into 1 land on the draw. Then we have Bearer and Fade into Antiquity for their early game plays. We did hit 1 land, so we will at least have Bearer of Memory and Fade into Antiquity on turn 3. We're playing against a blue-black again. Tamio's Safekeeping as the draw. Don't need to fade the flyer away just yet, because it's going to be Summoning Sick next turn anyway. It's not giving them any extra ability right now. There's a high-speed hover bike, which they can crew that and hit me for 2, so I guess they basically turn it into haste. Oh god, Long Reach of Night as well. Incredible. Saga, I'm just going to discard this boon. Probably discard a Tales of Master Sashiro next turn, unless I immediately hit land 4 off the top. Actually, no, I'm just going to fade the Long Reach of Night. Okay, we do hit land 4, which is cool, but I gotta just fade here. Because not only is that going to make me discard another card or sack another creature and then get a big menace threat on board, but they're in blue-black, which is the ninjutsu color pair. So they could even potentially ninjutsu it back to their hand and do it all over again. And just 2 to 3 for 1 me over and over and over. And that's just going to be unwinnable if they can repeat that in any way. So exiling it feels particularly good. Moonsnare Specialist. Okay, we gotta play Safekeeping for the tempo to stay alive here. Make sure I still got the blocker for Specialist. Just trying to make it to 5 mana and just start jamming in. If I top deck a land, just Tails is great. We don't top deck a land, but Bamboo Grove Archer is a good draw. Big enough to block either of their flyers without dying, so they're going to have to do something about Bamboo Grove Archer to attack again. So I just play that instead of Kami, and then I pass from there. And if we hit a land, we still have the Tails to get going. Are you for real right now? Like, I've got the Kami, I can pick up the Archer, but they're still going to make me discard 2 cards and lose 2 life again, and drop both tails and fall very far behind in card advantage here. I'm going to have to play land 5 for Bamboo Grove Archer's channel ability anyway, but I'm going to wait to play it in case I top deck an island, because if I draw a 6th land, I'm going to discard a 6th land to that ability, and I would rather discard a forest than an island. So I'm not going to play this land this turn in case I top deck island. The next turn I play an island. And channel the Archer to kill the Junji. I think I'm just dead here, because even if I kill Junji, again, I'm taking 2, I'm discarding 2 cards, and now I'm getting hit by the other flyers since I don't get to keep the reach creature out anymore. I mean, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, but really would have at least preferred to die to a different bomb instead of the exact same deck and card twice in a row. Oh. Thank you, Arena. Very cool. I guess we'll die to a different bomb. Crew 1 for a 4/3 flyer is absurd. Every single creature in their deck basically gets to turn into a 4/3 flying attacker. Just crew the mech over and over, and the mech has all the abilities of whatever creature is crewing it. So there's no shot in a million years we're winning this game. We're just getting bombed out like nobody's business. And 4-3 is what it's going to be. Not bad at all. This is going to be an average record here. Basically breaking even. We're down like 100 gems, but getting 1,400 gems, multiple packs. Pretty solid. So I'll take it. I can't block anything anyway, so we jam in for 7. Because the specialist is just going to crew a flyer again. They have an Assassin's Ink, they got to choose what they want to kill. Doesn't really matter. Cool. Play a Blade Blesser, they're hitting us for 8 damage in the sky, putting us to 2. If they have 2 creatures to play, we're just dead, because they just crew both the flyers. Playing it astronomically safe, I see. They are going to hold up blocks here. And we find a land. Okay. Well, kind of a bummer way to end it. 4-0 into 4-3, the quick 180, spin things right back around. But I'm still pretty happy with how I drafted. I think this deck is quite solid, but we just got nuked from orbit in those last couple games. Our first loss was the game that we could have changed the outcome of the most, but the only thing we could have done there mainly was to mulligan. That is the only decision that I think went particularly poorly today. Everything else, how I played, how I drafted, I think was fine. Just doesn't always pan out to be the perfect 7-win incredible run. And again, 4-3 is not bad at all. Still get solid rewards from that, and it's still a positive win rate. So here's another look at the deck. Didn't love it for sure. Would have been better if blue was more open, or if we had pivoted off of blue early and like committed towards that green-white, we probably would have had a stronger deck. So that's the only thing about the draft that I think didn't work out perfectly, but I still think the deck is quite solid, and definitely could have made it to 7 wins with some better draws or some better matchups, like some worse decks from our opponents, not having to deal with Junji the Midnight Sky twice in a row, stuff like that. Yeah, I think overall still quite a solid deck. These sagas just being incredibly, incredibly impactful cards often. Winning the games when we're drawing those, losing the games when we're not, as you do. Triple Generous Visitor was also quite fun, pretty good. As I said before, my least favorite card was Bunobo Seiju, and I guess we got to cast it a couple times, but still did not feel particularly good in any of those games. And I think nothing else about the deck seemed particularly terrible or particularly good. Just a solid little enchantment pile there. Gets us the 4 and 3 run, gets us 1400 gems, and 3 packs. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you'd like to see some more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the join button or the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.